this chapter, we are still going to examine the global economy, but focusing further on the economic flows in the globe. And in order for us to understand the global trade better, we have to investigate or examine the trade surpluses and deficits of the nations or the globe. But a very specific or very important role, we have the United States and China, because in today's time, these are the two biggest economic giants when it comes to the global economy. Now, when what do you call this? When talking about these two giants, it's important to look into their trade balances. So, trade balances, we pertain to the trade surpluses and trade deficits. When we say trade surplus, it refers to the amount by which the value of a country's exports exceeds the cost of its imports. And on the other hand, trade deficit means the amount by which the value of a country's imports exceeds the cost of its exports. So meaning to say, in trade surplus, these pertain to the kumbaga the extra amount na natitira after the country has exported its products and after it has received imports. So sa trade surpluses, when we say surplus, that means mas marami yung nai-export na products ng isang bansa kaysa sa products na kanyang nai-import. Meaning to say, in other words, mas marami yung kanyang naibibenta kaysa doon sa binibili niya. So that means, meron pa siyang natitirang surplus or extra amount which the value of exports exceeds the imports. Pag sinabi naman nating trade deficit, as I'm sure we're all familiar with, pag sinabi natin na deficit, it implies pagkalugi, di ba? Or mga nalugi, for example, hindi bumalik yung capital, walang return of investment, and etc. In the world of global trade, trade deficit means mas marami yung binibili ng isang country kesa doon sa product na naipapalabas niya. Mas marami yung imports na kinukuha niya kesa sa products na ini-export niya. So, we are going to, in this particular chapter, we are going to examine the trade surpluses and deficits between the United States of America and China. Okay? So first and foremost, we have the U.S. trade deficit. So we are focusing on the deficit of the United States of America because when we look at the economic relationship between the United States and China, if we focus on U.S., mas lamang yung kanyang deficit with China dahil wala siyang surplus. So that means to say, pagdating kay US tsaka sa China, si US mas maraming binibili niyang products galing sa China kaysa sa mga US products na ipapalabas niya sa China. So, US goods and services trade with China totaled an estimated $758.4 billion in 2022. Yung goods and services trade in general, US between China. So, ang total is estimated total was $758.4 billion back in 2022. The exports, yung naipalabas ni US kay China, were $195.5 billion, while the imports, yung mga binili niya kay China, totaled in $562.9 billion. So the US goods and services trade deficit with China in 2022, in the year 2022, was $367.4 billion. So that was in 2022, which has relatively declined from the year 2017. Kasi 2007 rather. Because in 2007, as you can see here in this graph, it's more than $700 billion yung deficit niya kay China. Whereas in 2022, bumaba siya, naging $367.4 billion naman. So actually, there is no wala tayong masasabi na trade, what you call this, surpluses sa US and sa US with China. Because kapag ka, well, of course, kapag ka malaking deficit, that means to say, kulang. Okay? Walang balance doon sa trades in services and goods with another country. And then, so here is China's trade surplus naman. So kasi if we compare or if we look at two countries, the relationship between two countries, global trade, kapag ka yung isa is may deficit that with the other one, that automatically means na yung isa may surplus with the other one. So here is a brief history of China's surplus with the United States. So in November 2006, China's surplus with the United States totaled to almost its surplus with all the countries in the world. So parang yung surplus daw ni China sa US, equivalent niya is almost yung surplus niya sa lahat or the rest of the countries in the world. So you imagine kung gaano kalaki yung surplus niya sa US. And then the trade surplus totaled to an amount of 177.447 billion US dollars. And in 2003, it totaled, grabe no, it ended with 823.2 billion US dollars. This was actually significantly, this was lower than the 2022 surplus niya with US, because in 2022 yung surplus ni China with US was 877.6 billion dollars. Now in 2023, bumaba pa siya into 823.2 billion dollars. So you might be wondering, why does the US have a huge amount of deficit with China? Or bakit si China sobrang laki ng surplus niya with the US? Okay, so again, the US has a larger deficit with China than with any other country in the world. So pinakamalaking what do you call this? Pinakamalaking deficit ni US is pagdating talaga kay China compared sa other deficit niya with other countries. Okay, so the reason is that many Chinese products are attractive because they are priced low. They are mainly as a result of the low cost of labor in China, and because their quality is high, at least in part for the price being paid for a particular product. So the reason why naiinganyo yung US na bumili ng imported products from China ay because yung mga products ni China, this also, for example, I think this also applies to the Philippines, diba? Because Chinese products are relatively cheaper than other products siguro in from the rest of the world. And parang relatively those products, no, with the price that's being paid for those particular products can be considered as high quality. Okay? So, and the deeper reason for that, kung bakit konti lang or maliit lang yung presyo, is because of the low cost of labor in China. I think you might be familiar with, di ba, the Chinese brand Shein, di ba? So, if you can observe, compared to other products from other countries, sobrang baba ng presyo ng Shein. And I think it was back in 2022 or 2023 na nagka-issue yung brand na iyon because it was revealed na gumagamit pala sila ng child labor, their workers are paid sobrang minimal ng sweldo ng mga workers nila. That's why their products are also sold cheaper than the other products na parang branded ganyan. So that's what makes Chinese products attractive. I think hindi lang naman sa US but for the rest of the world also, diba? So the US is also negotiating with China over the size of its deficit kasi sobrang laki ng deficit eh. And they're also blaming the Chinese monetary policies in China, especially because sa paningin ng US, no, yung Chinese yuan are being undervalued, thereby no, making Chinese exports less expensive and therefore more affordable to Americans. Remember, yung sinasabi ko sa inyo na, like for example, when we see foreigners in the Philippines, automatic parang ang tingin natin sa kanila, sobrang laki ng pera nila, di ba? So, that's why malaki yung deficit ni US kay China kasi yung mga products ni China sobrang attractive sa kanila because super cheap yung products na yun as compared sa kung yung products na yun is pinroduce sa US mismo. Okay? So, there is much more, of course, to the American attraction to Chinese products than their low prices traceable to China's undervalued currency, which means na eto yung parang kumbaga the deeper reason is that it's not only because of the undervaluing of the Chinese yuan, but really because of the employment of cheap labor in China. Kaya kasi nga gumagamit sila ng child labor, for example, or sobrang liit ng sweldo ng mga workers sila. That's why it's possible na yung mga Chinese products na napoproduce nila can be sold with lower prices, di ba? So, kung ikaw naman talaga yung consumer, ikaw yung bumibili, di ba? You'd prefer a much cheaper product which is relatively high quality for the price that you are paying for that product, di ba? So kaya it's very what you call this? Their products are very attractive to consumers. Okay? And then moving on. Okay, so moving on, we'll be discussing about the economic chains and networks. Kumbaga, etong economic chains and networks, these are very important in the global trade kasi dito natin makikita kung paano nag-interconnect yung, like for example, the production, the selling of the products and services, for example, in the global trade. Okay, so we have 5 important economic chains and networks that are involved in global trade. This is according to Gary Jurifi. So we have the supply chain, apat pala. Supply chain, international production networks, global commodity chains, and the global value chain. So to start with, we have the supply chain. So the supply chains pertain to the general label for value-adding activities in the production process. So dito sa supply chain, no, dito natin makikita yung proseso ng paglalagay ng value sa isang activity until sa ma-come up yung output or yung final product. Okay? So yung value-adding activity pertains to dito. So the process of, for example, starting up with a raw material. So for example, our end product would be a t-shirt or any product that uses, for example, cotton. So t-shirt, mga duvet, mga comforters, and etc. etc. Okay? Sa supply chain, no, yung ibig sabihin natin dito or yung tinitingnan natin dito is yung value-adding activity sa production process. Okay? So parang we try to understand how the price of the t-shirt came to be. Bakit, for example, yung t-shirt na binili natin is worth 250 pesos or 500 pesos. Okay? So, in order for us to understand that one, no, kailangan nating tignan yung supply chain. So, for example, so it begins with a raw material and it follows the value-adding activity through a variety of inputs and outputs and ultimately to a finished product. Okay? So, magsisimula tayo sa raw material. Okay? So, nung i-process na itong raw material na ito, dito na nagsimula yung value-adding activity. So, dito na nagsimula yung pag-increase ng presyo ng raw material because the price of the cotton, say for example, you bought the cotton, one sack of cotton, ang bili mo dyan is 50 pesos. hindi mo bibilhin yung finished product na t-shirt for 50 pesos only rin, di ba? Because throughout this process, nagkakaroon ng value addition nung pinaprocess na natin ito. So, first, we have the raw material. So, we have the cotton. Then, ipoprocess natin yung cotton, it would require technology, di ba? For example, it would require machines, ganyan-ganyan, bibili tayo. Or, for example, yung binili ng mga factories na technology or machine to help them process the cotton para linisin, para separate yung cotton and whatever na process na ginagawa nila. And then, so, nung gumamit tayo ng technology or ng machines, that's the start now of the value-adding activity natin. No? Kasi nung gumamit tayo ng machine, pinatungan natin yung presyo ng 50 pesos na cotton. So, like for example, ginawa na nating 100 pesos. Okay? And then, aside from that, of course, kailangan natin ng labor. Kailangan natin ng manggagawa kasi of course who would be operating the machines, for example. So kailangan pa rin natin ng workers ng mga tao to operate the machines and to ganyan-ganyan. So nung what do you call this? Tumaas yung value ng cotton from 50 pesos to 100 pesos, idagdag natin yung labor, yung sahod ng mga manggagawa, naging what do you call this? Naging 200 pesos. And then, for the final outcome, say for example, papatungan na naman nila yan ng ano-ano, kasi alam naman natin mga kapitalista, ganyan-ganyan, so papatungan na naman nila. So, 50 to 100 to 200. Now, the final product would now cost 250 pesos. So, ito yung supply chain, for example. Okay? So, ito yung, kumbaga, ito yung pinakang basic na pinagmumulan ng economic what do you call this? Economic chain sa pinagsimulan ng economic chains in global trade. Okay? So, we also have the what do you call this? The international production networks. Okay? So, the international production networks involves the networks of producers involved in the process of producing a finished product. Okay? So, dito naman ang focus natin dito is kung sino yung nagpo-produce. So, mainly, yung tinitignan natin dito is the companies, the factories, the industries na nagpo-produce ng final product na yun, for example, balik tayo dun sa t-shirt, anong company yung nag-produce ng t-shirt na yun, 'di ba? So, 'di ba, especially with kapag branded yung mga products na binibili natin, kadalasan kasi kapag branded talaga, kasama na doon sa binibili natin or binabayaran natin is the brand name. Okay? So, dito sa international production networks, dito natin makikita yung role ng multinational corporations. Okay? So, for example, yung iPhones or yung gadgets na meron kayo. So, you have the Apple, you have Nestle, you have Coca-Cola, you have Microsoft, and so on and so forth. So, in international production networks, this mainly involves the multinational corporations as at its center. Okay? So, yung multinational corporations, yung nagpo-play ng central role in the production networks. Kasi commonly, di ba, when it comes to global trade, of course, these are products na ita-trade natin with other countries. So, this, of course, involves most of the time or almost all of the time, multinational corporation. So another example of this one is automotive companies. So yung mga, for example, Ford and General Motors that produce in multiple countries. Yung mga multinational corporation, yung Ford and General Motors. So they coordinate their production process across different countries in order to produce their cars. So, yung Ford and General Motors, they have production facilities in multiple countries. For example, they have it in Mexico, Brazil, Germany, and United States. So, yun yung kino-coordinate nila sa pag-produce ng kanilang mga sasakyan. Okay? So, yun yung role na pinaplay ng international production network sa global trade. So, it would always involve multinational corporations. Okay? And then the next one is we have global commodity chain. So, sa global commodity chain, this is another value-adding activity, but this involves chains and global organizations of industries. Okay, so kung doon sa supply chains, it's a value-adding activity that focuses on from start to production, from raw material to production of the final output. Dito naman sa global commodity chain, yung tinitignan natin dito is the value-adding chains and global organization of industries, for example. So yung pinaka-important dito na mga elements, for example, is yung sellers ng global products. Particularly, yung mga example, the retailers of particular products. Kasi for example, like for example, there, 'di ba, we can see na yung mga kahit mga branded materials are also being bought in supermarkets or mga chain malls and etc., 'di ba? So nung binenta what do you call this, nung binenta yan siya nitong mga organization of industries na ito, there would be another addition of value doon sa final product. That's why, di ba, mapapansin natin na sometimes kapag we buy directly from the production company, tapos if we buy from malls, for example, mas mahal yung presyo sa mall kesa doon sa presyo ng pagbili natin ng isang produkto diretso galing sa factory na nag-produce noon. Bakit? Kasi nung bumili tayo sa mall, merong nadagdag na naman na value noon kasi binili nila yon kay factory na pinanggalingan. Okay? So, in global commodity chains, we also see the importance of producer-driven commodity chains and buyer-driven commodity chains. So, dito sa producer-driven commodity chain, for example, ang example nito is yung, what do you call this? Yung automobiles, for example, the production of automobiles. Kasi when it comes to automobiles naman, yung pag-produce ng automobiles, they are determined by the producer or the production company, di ba? Like, for example, yung mga automobiles, makikita natin parang every year there is an update, every year there is a new model of a particular car, ganyan-ganyan. Hindi siya, parang the automobiles are not determined by the buyer or ano ba tawag dito? Not determined by the sales of a particular model. Kasi parang kung gusto nilang i-modify yung isang car, i-modify nila. So hindi nagdi-determine ng production nila yung sales per se ng isang sasakyan. Whereas when we say buyer-driven commodity chain, for example, yung mga products or yung pag-produce ng product or yung supply ng product is determined by the buyer. So, for example, diba, when, for example, kasi mas familiar sa atin yung Watsons, for example, kesa doon sa Walmart, which could be quite similar in principle, no? Sa Watsons, diba, for example, or sa supermarkets or sa groceries, whichever product is always sold out, yun yung always, di ba, na nire-restock, di ba? So, yun yung ibig sabihin ng buyer-driven products or buyer-driven commodity chains. Yung nagdi-determine ng supply ng isang product is yung sales ng isang product. Kung gaano karami yung bumibili, ganoon din karami yung supply noon. And not straying from our focus here, global commodity chains. So, for example, you have, for example, Walmart or yung sa Watsons. So, nung binili, for example, ng Watsons yung isang branded product, nagdagdag na naman sila ng value doon sa product na yun. So, for example, noong balik tayo doon sa t-shirt. No? So, di ba, we started with the raw material. So, we started with the raw material here. And then we use technology to process that. So from 50 pesos to 100 pesos. Then we add the labor, naging 200 pesos. And then the final t-shirt is 250 pesos. Now, that would be the price if bibilhin natin yan sa diretso sa factory. So, ibig sabihin, for example, si supermarket or grocery or whatever mall or ganyan-ganyan Watsons, for example, si Watsons, although hindi nagbibenta si Watsons ng t-shirt, diba? So, this is only for the sake of an example na. For example, si Watsons, binili niya yung t-shirt na yun worth 20 pesos kasi that is supposedly the final price, diba? Tapos, nung binenta naman ni Watsons, okay? Nung binenta ni Watsons ulit yung, what do you call this? Nung binenta ni Watsons, ano ba to? Yung t-shirt, na? Ang ginawa niya, from 250 pesos, ang benta niya is 350 pesos na. Okay? another example, no? For example is yung mga, di ba, yung for example, we have Nike, we have Skechers, we have ano pa yung mga brands ng mga sapatos ninyo or damit ninyo, you have Uniqlo, you have H&M, yung mga ano pa, and other many branded products na especially yung mga walang production companies. Kasi karamihan dito sa mga branded products na ito, wala silang sariling production company. So ang nangyayari parang ano ba to, nagkokontrata sila ng supplier ng kanilang mga products. So let's say for example, no, say for example si H&M. So si H&M, i-employ niya si company A para mag-produce ng damit niya. Okay, ng mga damit niya or ng clothing. Now, pagdating natin dito kay H&M, okay, nung nakuha na niya, nung na-supply na sa kanya ni company A yung mga clothing na in-order niya, nilagay niya yung brand niya, di ba? Brand ng H&M. That is actually another value addition doon sa isang product, di ba? Kasi nga, yung mga branded products na binibili natin, binibili rin natin yung mga brands nila. We also buy their brand. So kaya nung binili niya dito ng 250 pesos, ang benta dito ni H&M is 500 pesos because kasali na doon sa presyo niya is yung brand name ng H&M. So that's another aspect of the global trade. Okay? And lastly, we have the global value chain. So, sa global value chain, there is an emphasis on the relative value of those economic activities that are required to bring a good or service from conception to through the different phases of production, delivered to final consumers, and final disposal after use. So, dito naman sa global value chain, no, parang pinagsama-sama na ito yung tatlo from supply chains to the production networks to commodity chains. Parang ang nangyayari dito, even after disposal of a particular product, parang nagre-remain pa rin yung value ng isang produkto. Okay, so from start to finish until the end of that particular product, mayroong chain of value doon sa produkto na yon. Okay, so in order to understand this, we have to examine the global value chains between the US and China. Okay, so there are many examples of this one. Okay, so between US and China, we have, for example, the scrap metals, waste papers, t-shirts, and iPhones. Okay, para mas magets natin ano yung ibig sabihin ng global value chain. Okay, so kasi sa global value chain, this pertains to yung overarching talaga na label for all the work in parang kumbaga in the networks and chains of producing particular products and trading it with other countries. Okay, so starting off, we have the trade of scrap metals between US and China. Okay, so although other countries are also involved in this trading or involved in this same trading, no, ang focus natin talaga is US at saka si China. Okay, so sa scrap metal, ano yung mga scrap metal? Okay, so scrap metal, these are actually yung mga metals, for example, from scraps, of course. So like for example, yung mga sa junk shops, yung mga nasirang sasakyan, di ba? They would be bought by junk shops, ganyan-ganyan, no? Makikita natin na sobrang gabundok na yung mga scrap metals nila kasi yan yung binibenta ulit nila, di ba? So, remember, sa global value chain, it involves the production, from start to finish and until the end of that particular product. So, we have the scrap metal from the US. Okay, so yung mga scrap metals, kinokolekta ng US. Okay, so ang gagawin dito ni US, ipapadala niya yung scrap metals kay China because doon niya ipapa-assemble. Doon niya ipapagawa, ganyan-ganyan. And after magawa, for example, ni China, yung product from those scrap metals coming from the US, ipapabalik ni US kay China sa kanya yung product with, for example, kung output is mga sasakyan, ibabalik doon sa US na naman yung magbebenta. Okay? So actually, this is also quite related to the dependency theory or the world system theory, wherein a world system theory wherein the core countries are actually manipulating or exploiting or making the less developed countries dependent on them. So for example, no, kahit yung mga basura na scrap metal sa US, although China cannot really be considered right now as an underdeveloped country, no? Pero for the sake of example, no, sabihin natin na si China is a periphery country. So, ito yung ginagawa sa kanya ng developed country na ito. So, yung mga basura, for example, bibigay nila kay China kasi, no, remember, because the reason for that is the cheap labor in China. Kasi, if these products are assembled in US, ang ending, kapag ibibenta nila yung na-assemble ulit na sasakyan, mahal yung benta nila because magiging mahal yung cost of production. So, for example, nung ginawa ni China yung final product na sasakyan, ibibenta siya ni US ng, for example, $100,000, no? Pero, kung si US yung gumawa ng mga scrap metals na yun or nag-assemble ulit ng scrap metals na yun, hindi sapat yung $100,000 for that outcome kasi mahal yung production cost sa US. Mahal yung mga what you call this, materials, and mahal yung cost of labor sa US. Okay, so yung 100,000 for example na si China yung nag-manufacture, kung si US yung magma-manufacture, magiging for example $500,000 yung sasakyan na yon. Okay? Why? Because kasi pagdating sa US, 'di ba? We can observe na talagang yung mga tao doon, they are very meticulous when it comes to jobs and wages, salaries and insurance and etc. etc. 'di ba? For example, yung konting pera lang nila na hindi nila ma-account, hindi nila makita saan nanggaling. There would be, for example, filing petition sa mga courts nila demanding saan napunta yung pera ko or ganyan-ganyan. So, they also have protection, worker protection, or mga worker unions nila na nag-advocate sa higher wages, ganyan-ganyan. Whereas dito, for example, sa China and other parts of the world, mga less developed countries, no, walang hindi makareklamo yung mga tao because, for example, hindi nila alam yung rights nila, hindi makareklamo yung tao because they're actually being ostracized if they are complaining. For example, sa Pilipinas, di ba? Sa Pilipinas, kapag ka nagrereklamo yung mga health workers natin, mga teachers natin, yung mga ordinary or yung mga may mga matataas na posisyon sa gobyerno or sa economy or whatever, grabe yung pag-ismid sa kanila because grabe mga reklamador, ganyan-ganyan, 'di ba? Sa US, they really exercise their right to protest, their right their freedom of speech. Okay? Siguro that's also one of the reasons why US is very, very progressive from the rest of the world, and especially from Philippines. Okay? Kasi pagdating dito sa Pilipinas, no, naghihingalo na nga yung mga farmers, hindi pa sila makapagreklamo kasi sila pa yung magiging masama, magmumukhang masama. Naghihingalo na nga yung mga health workers kasi delay yung sweldo. Sila pa yung masama kasi sasabihan pa sila, bakit ba kayo atat na atat magkasweldo, ganyan-ganyan, di ba? So, yun yung pinagkaiba kasi ng developed countries tsaka less developed countries. And siguro that's also because of the lack of awareness and, well, siguro lack of understanding ng mga tao, 'di ba? So, yun siya. So, that's for the scrap metals now between US and China. And then another example. Okay, so before the other example, no, this is also very important to note. No, ang sabi dito, China's industrial might is being constructed out of the ruins of the United States. Okay, because there were times also na kapag ka nagpadala si US ng scrap metals kay China, parang pwede rin, for example, for one, pwedeng tipirin ni China yung ginagamit nila doon na metals doon sa output na hinihingi ni US. And then, yung mga extra na metals is gagamitin nila sa pag-build up ng kanilang industries. Or, pangalawa, ginagamit nila yung mismong mga metals ng US to build up to their own industry. So, this means to say na yung industrialization daw ni China or China's industrial might was made possible because of the ruins ng USA, because of the mga basura ni US, diba? So, from the scrap metals, China's industrial might was born. Okay, so parang US cannot blame China for its rapid industrialization, or US cannot blame China for its deficit kasi nauutakan talaga nila si US. Ganyan kautak din yung economy ng China. Okay? So, kaya nga from their ruins, nagkaroon ng industrialization sa China. And then, okay, so we also have waste papers. So, waste papers, hindi lang ito papel, no? This also pertain to yung mga boxes, yung mga karton na ginagamit sa, of course, pagpapak ng different products. Because, no, parang tingin natin doon sa mga kartones, ganyan, wala naman. Pero it's actually a great source of money, a huge source of money for example, the Nine Dragons paper, ganyan. Okay? So again, magsisimula tayo doon sa production of the boxes, ganyan. So then, di ba usually pagka may mga boxes tayo galing sa ating mga online shopping or groceries, itatapon natin yan. So, in the case of US, there is a collection of waste papers. Okay, so there is a collection of waste papers. Ko-collect nila yan. So, same with the scrap materials or scrap metals. Ipapadala nila ulit kay China or bibilhin ng companies sa China. Then, i-reproduce ulit ni China, i-recycle, and then gagamitin nila pang ship ng mga produkto nila sa iba't ibang parte ng mundo hanggang ma-dispose na naman yung boxes na makukollect na naman, ganyan. So parang etong sa global value chains talagang it starts from this beginning till the end and until the disposal of these products. Okay, and then another example is we have the production of t-shirts. Okay, so very familiar tayo dito. Okay, so for example, the raw materials used for the t-shirts were from the US and then isi-ship ulit sa China because China employs cheap labor. Or for example, ngayon is there are also many many clothing na ginagawa sa, for example, Vietnam, 'di ba? Yung mga damit natin made in Vietnam, ganyan. So they're manufactured in these countries and then ibabalik nila ulit sa US, bibenta nila sa US ulit, then lalagyan ni US, for example, ng brands, ganyan, until sa itatapon na ito ni US or i-dispose na ito ng mga gumamit sa US, mga branded, di ba? Then, i-dispose nila sa other countries, Africa or sa Asia. Okay, so, eto actually, dito nanggagaling yung ating mga ukay-ukay. Okay? So, that's why sa ukay-ukay, kadalasan, marami tayong nakikitang branded materials or branded clothes, di ba? Because these are actually original clothing na used, na tinapon lang ng nitong, for example, ng Amerika, ganyan, na binenta ulit sa atin as disposed materials for a price, ganyan. Okay? And then lastly, this is one of the most interesting examples. Okay, so we have your iPhones. Okay, so your iPhones, are manufactured in China, sold to US and Europe, brought back to China by smugglers and others, and unlocked by China. Okay, so sa iPhone kasi, di ba, iPhone is owned by the Apple company. Okay, so si Apple company, maghanap rin siya ng magmamanufacture ng iPhone. So, iPhones are mainly manufactured in China. Although, the different parts of iPhones came from different parts of the world. So, for example, iba yung pinanggalingan ng LED, ng LCD, iba yung pinanggalingan ng battery, iba yung pinanggalingan ng camera, or iba yung pinanggalingan ng lahat. Pero, the final manufacturing is ng nangyayari sa China. Okay, so since Apple is a huge multinational company, no, kapag ka may nabibenta na iPhone, iPad, MacBook for example, meron yan of course na royalty. That's why yung final product na na-produce ni China, na manufacture ni China, madadagdagan ulit yun siya ng presyo. May value addition na naman. So supposedly, nung nagawa na, na-assemble na ni China, ibabalik niya ulit kay US at si Europe para si Apple na mismo yung nagbebenta, di ba? That's why iPhones na binibili ninyo sa iMac ba yan, if I'm not mistaken? iMac ay mga, di ba, naka-factory unlock. It's either your network is Globe only or Smart only, di ba? Kasi may royalty din yan sila eh. May presyo ay may pera din sila doon yung networks na iyon. Okay. So bumalik na yung iPhone na nagawa kay US at saka kay Europe. So dapat ibebenta nila. Pero usually ang ginagawa ni China, ini-smuggle niya pabalik sa China yung iPhones na yan. Okay? So ini-smuggle nila ganyan-ganyan. That's why meron tayong iPhones dito sa Pilipinas that are worth less than the price sa iMac stores. Diba? Bakit? Kasi yung mga binenta nila kay US, in-smuggle nila pabalik sa kanilang country, kay China, and then ginawa nila, factory unlock nila. So, walang nakuhang royalty si Apple, walang nakuhang royalty, for example, si Smart or si Globe sa kanila. So, that's why the iPhones coming from China are cheaper than iPhones coming from Apple mismo. But do not be mistaken, these products are actually similar, the same. Okay? Kasi yung iPhones, lahat nung iPhones na yun, si China yung gumawa. Ang pinagkaiba lang is, yung bili ninyo ng, for example, 100,000 plus na iPhone 15 Pro Max ninyo, malaki yung presyo because dumaan pa siya kay Apple, dumaan pa siya doon sa networks na kapartner ni Apple. Whereas kung bibilhin nyo yon sa mga, for example, smugglers dito sa Pilipinas, yung mga nagbebenta, for example, sa Green Hills, sa Luzon, ganyan-ganyan, mas mura yung iPhone 15 Pro Max doon sa Green Hills kesa sa iMac stores. Because naka-factory unlock kasi in-smuggle yun ni China, hindi yun dumaan kay Apple, walang nakuhang royalty si Apple. That's why for certain times, si Apple is nalugi, walang bumabalik na royalty sa kanila nung pinagawa nila ng iPhone si China. That's also why yung mga nabibili ninyong iPhones from Green Hills ay may mga, di ba, ano ba to? Chinese features. Kasi kino-customize rin nila yan para of course, may identity din ng China, di ba? Pero, basically, parehas lang sila. Di ba? So, ikaw na may iPhone na 15 Pro Max, iPhone 15 Pro Max galing sa Apple Store, whatever, ang bili mo 100,000. Ako na may iPhone 15 Pro Max, binili ko sa Green Hills, ang bili ko lang for half its price, 50,000. Parehas lang naman yan sila. Okay? Diba? So, ano ba to? Na pinagkakitaan lang kayo ng Apple at saka ng partner networks niya. Okay? Pero kami, like for example, nautakan namin kayo ni China. Okay? So, basically, parehas yan sila. So, yun yung nangyayari. Kaya nga rin, talagang laki ng deficit ni US kay China. Okay? And then, moving on. Okay, so we have the increasing competition for commodities. Now, pag sinabi natin na commodities, in its economic sense, no, it pertains to economic goods, particularly economic mga raw materials when it comes to the economy. So very particular dito is yung mga agricultural products, like for example, grains, corns, yung mga minerals na ginagamit for the production of oil, for example, yung mga, what's this? Livestock, ganyan. Basta yung mga pinanggagalingan ng raw materials for different products. So, ito yung commodities na minimin natin dito. So, we'll try to look at the reason why, what do you call this? Why there's an increase in competition for commodities. Okay, so actually, the increasing demand for commodities, especially oil, kasi I think oil is the most in-demand commodity in the world. Lahat ng bansa gumagamit ng oil. Lahat ng tao kumukonsume ng oil. Doesn't mean pag sinabi kong consume is kinakain, ha? Gumagamit, okay? Gumagamit ng oil. For transportation, gumagamit tayo. Online shopping, gumagamit tayo. For example, pag nagluluto, gumagamit tayo, and etc. etc. Okay? So, the increasing demand for these commodities is no longer fueled mainly by the needs of the countries that we think of as highly developed. But they are now fueled by massive development in other parts of the world, especially in China at saka in India. So especially with China, no, it's industrializing at a rapid pace. So kailangan niya talaga ng oil para mag-work yung kanilang mga machines, yung mga technology, ganyan-ganyan. So kasi in the past, parang commodities are mostly used by developed countries. Kasi sila naman talaga, for example, you have Japan, may maraming mga technology na ginagamit, or US, for example, to fuel their mga, ano ba dyan, mga turbines and whatever. Pero ngayon, no, with the massive developments in other parts of the world, especially talaga kay China, nag-increase pa yung competition. So kung dati, for example, ang gumagamit lang mostly is si US tsaka si Europe, or sila lang yung nagko-compete for commodities, especially sa oil, ngayon dumagdag pa si China na sobrang laki ng ginagamit ng oil dahil sa kanyang industrialization. So that's why there's an increasing demand for competition rather for commodities. Additionally, no, demand for commodities goes well beyond that of specific industries needing specific commodities for their production processes. This industrial development is linked to the emerging, what do you call this? Sorry. So this industrial development is linked to the emergence of a similarly expanding consumer society, with consumers in countries like China and India demanding the same sorts of products that consumers in the US and the European Union process. So traditionally kasi, these commodities, especially if we focus on oil, ang gumagamit nito ang gumagamit mainly or pinakamalaki, sila yung biggest consumers of oil is yung mga production companies, kasi gagamitin sa factories, gagamitin sa ganito ganyan, and etc. etc. So, pero ngayon, no, the demand for these commodities goes beyond the production process. Okay? Because with the development in the industries, especially sa China, yung mga consumers nagde-demand na rin ng products that were usually utilized in the US tsaka the European Union. Kaya nagkakaroon ng more demand for oil kasi kailangan nilang mag-produce ng tinidemand na product ng kanilang consumers. So like for example dito sa Pilipinas, no? For example, dito sa Pilipinas, with the influence of the Western lifestyles, or say for example, Korean lifestyle. So with our exposure to their culture, no, ang dami-daming mga Pilipino, for example, na nagde-demand ng ano ba to? Nagde-demand ng nagde-demand or nagkakagustong, for example, what do you call this? Umattend ng mga concerts. So, 'di ba kapag ka-concerts kailangan niya ng eroplano, 'di ba? Or like for example from Mindanao to Luzon, sasakay kang eroplano, gagamit yan ng oil, 'di ba? So hindi siya yung demand for commodity or yung competition for commodity is not limited to the demands of the production companies. Pero ngayon kasi nagde-demand na mismo is yung mga consumers. Okay? Or another example is, for example, yung paggamit ng pag-consume ng mga milk tea or mga coffee, ganyan-ganyan. So, anything that would require an increase in competition for the commodity that is directly demanded by the consumers, not necessarily by production companies. Okay, so hindi na siya fueled by production companies for specific commodities, ganyan-ganyan, but it is fueled by the expansion of the consumer society. So yung mismong consumers na yung nagde-demand ng paggamit ng oil or other commodities na iyon. Okay, so ito yung example, nakalimutan ko, meron pala nito. So example for instance is we have yung oil na commodity na ginagamit as gasoline. So ginagamit yan siya ng automobiles, ng trucks for deliveries, ng airplanes for transportation, commercial flights, or mga cargo, trucks, ganyan-ganyan, or mga personal automobiles. So kaya ang dami-daming what's this? Kaya ang dami-daming ano ba to? Ang dami-daming nagde-demand ng commodity na ito, ng particular commodity na ito. And with also the increase in demand for those commodities, come the increase in prices, di ba? Kasi, well, of course, kapag ka mga businessmen or kapitalista, they take advantage of the situation. Kapag ka may maraming nagdi-demand, tinataasan yung presyo. Kasi of course, you take advantage na maraming bibili, taasan ko ng presyo, ganyan-ganyan. So, ayan, so maraming gumagamit, mataas yung presyo. Kaya ang result nito, of course, is oil wealth, what we call the oil wealth of the OPEC, especially the OPEC countries. Okay, so, yun. So, with the increasing demand of the consumer society comes also the increasing supply and also the increase of prices of these commodities, but particularly ng oil na ito.